Hello, hello, hello. What's up, Facebook world? This is Lee Fuller, aka The Funnel Helper, and we are back for your Tuesday, what's Tuesday thoughts? I don't remember what I do on Tuesday, but our Tuesday Funnel Helper training. Tuesday training, there you go. Because I know we got Tactical Thursday. This is Tuesday training. So today we're talking about how to validate your idea, right? So if you're like me, sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night, or sometimes you're plugging away at your computer and you think of this idea and you're like, what? This idea right here? This idea right here is going to be a game changer. It's a game breaker. You know what I'm saying? It's like Harden. You know what I'm saying? Just cold. Just come take over games and stuff. But what I want to do today is we're going to go over how to validate that idea, because, you know, believe it or not every idea that pops into our head is actually a good idea. And a lot of times we end up spending a lot of time and money chasing down an idea that could have been killed at the beginning if there was a validation process already in place, right? So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through that validation process. It's a 5-step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 5-step. What's going on, Solo Bear? It's a 5-step validation process for how to validate an idea, a business idea, a product, or a service, right? So here it is. We're going to jump into it. So, one way to validate your product or service and see if it's a good idea, right? So when you wake up and say, hey, I think this is great, here's one way to validate that. So the first thing you do, and I got my little notebook out today because I'm writing today. So number one is first you got to do a search, right? It starts with search. Hey, what's going on? Okay, that's who Solo Bear is. I wasn't sure. I was like, Solo Bear, hey, what's up? What's going on, cuz? So, today, this is Lee Fuller, aka The Funnel Helper, and we're talking about how to validate whether or not you got a good business idea, a good product, or a good plan. First thing you do is you gotta search. So, what you do is you go to Google, boom, 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 and you find out if there's somebody else that's doing what you're doing, right? Sometime, if let's say you got this product or you got this idea for a yoga machine. I don't know. But you go to Google and you search to see if there is somebody else that has this product available. Okay? So when you go to the mighty Google, you type it in and you say, man, if you don't find any results, that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. So if you don't find any results, you might say, what? I'm the first person to ever think of this idea in the whole world. Most of the time that's not the case, right? Most of the time, you didn't come up with this completely new concept that no one has ever heard of in the whole wide world. Many times, if you do the search and you can't find another person that's doing it or another product for sale, it could be that idea just don't work. It could be that idea just don't make money. And if it doesn't make money, it doesn't stay up very long while people are driving traffic to it, right? So, yes, if it doesn't exist, you might be onto something, but more times than not, it could be a dud and you need to come up with a new idea. Okay. Now, let's say you do your search. You do your search for your product. You do your search for your whatever, and something does come up. If something does come up, then you investigate. You say, hey, so let's say I'm working with let's say I got my sales funnel going on, and I got my sales funnel going on. So when I go to look to see if there's another sales funnel, if there's another person creating automated selling machines, and I see, yes, there are a couple other people doing automated selling machines. So I said, okay, well, that's one way to validate my idea. You know, so I do my search. I see that, yes, there are other people doing what I'm doing. That's one way to validate my idea. And now what I'm doing is I look to see how can I improve it or how can I enhance it, right? Because for most things, there's nothing new under the sun. So we can take a look and see what other people are doing so we can validate our ideas. We can validate and make sure we're on the right path and we're doing the right thing. Hello, what's going on, Gina? So the first step to validating your idea is to do a search. Do a simple Google search. See if the product already exists. If it does exist, then you can see how to improve it or enhance it. The next thing, number 2, after you do the search, then you got to share, man. You got to share. And what I mean by share is, I'll put it like this, share for feedback. Okay? For feedback. All right? You want to share so that you can get some feedback on your idea. What do I mean by that? Ask somebody, hey, if you come up with a good idea, that's right, yes. These are 5 ways to validate your ideas. Do a Google search, see if it exists. The next one is share your idea. Talk to somebody. Because in my head, in our heads as entrepreneurs and business owners and stuff, in our head, every idea sounds like a good idea. Because it's not like, hey, let me create this stupid idea. No, right? We always think it's a great idea. So what we do is we talk to somebody. Now, whenever I tell people to talk to somebody, I always get the same question. Well, what if they steal my idea? Like, hey, if I tell people this breakthrough idea, what if somebody steal it and they execute better than me? The likelihood of somebody else executing on your idea is usually pretty slim. Okay, it's a fear that's in our head that, oh man, if I share my idea or if I talk about what I'm going to do, then somebody's going to steal it, right? More times than not, it's just a fear. More times than not, it's just a fear in our head. Somebody's not going to steal your idea. Somebody's not going to, create that thing faster than you. But what sharing your idea, if you are afraid that somebody's going to steal your idea, what you can do is talk to somebody you trust, right? Talk to a friend. I'm a member of a couple masterminds. So when I get on a call and I'm talking to my brothers, I'm like, hey, I got this idea about this. What do you think? Right? And more times than not, what happens is they tell me, hey, either that's a good idea or Lee, don't do that. I tried it. That doesn't work or whatever. And sometimes someone will say, hey, here is a tweak that you can do to that idea. Because in that state, it may not work as well as you hope. But here's a couple tweaks in order to make that work. Right? So today we're talking about the 5 steps to help you validate an idea to make sure you have a good idea and a good business. Number 1 was search. Do a Google search, see if it exists. If there is competition, that's actually a good thing. That means, perhaps there's money in the marketplace. The second thing is share your idea and get some feedback. Ask somebody, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And trust that they'll give you some good information, right? They may have to tweak it. So, search, share. The third step in validating your idea is what I like to call a beta test. A beta test, right? And why do I say beta test? Well, the beta test allows you to get feedback, okay? If we're making decisions without feedback, we're pretty much just guessing, right? We're saying, hey, we're making a hypothesis. Hey, I think this is what's going to happen. Well, when we create a beta test, some people call it a minimum viable product. When we create these things and put it out in the marketplace, it takes it out of guess world and hypothesis land and puts it in the real world so that it can get beat up, so they can get tested, so they can get tried. So create a beta version of it to test it. A basic version so that you can send it out into the world and see what happens. All right. So if you got a product idea, so let's say you create digital products, right? And you want to get some feedback. You want to send it out into the world and see what happens. Well, what you can do is you can create a lead magnet, right? Create a lead magnet or an opt-in page. I've done this before. I say, you know what? I think this is a good idea. Let me put a page up and a headline and see if anybody opts in to get this information, right? If they opt in to get the information, then maybe we have a viable product, right? But if I put up a test or I put up a question or I put up an idea and nobody is interested in it, right? If I say, hey, this product is going to change the world, and I put it up and I said, request more information, and nobody's requesting more information, then maybe it's not going to change the world as fast as I thought, right? But by doing that, it allows me to adjust my messaging, and it'll save me a bunch of money from going and a bunch of time from going through this whole process, creating something that nobody will buy. And trust me, I have created things before that nobody buys. I have worked with clients and then created things that nobody buys. So that's one of the things that drove me to create these 5 steps to validate your idea. And these 5 steps are also a part of a program that I teach. This is the assessment phase, where we assess whether or not it's just a good idea. And should we be wasting our time trying to do this? So, if you have a digital product or you're trying to create a product, how can you test it? First, create a lead capture page, right? Or a lead magnet. If no one is opting in for a lead magnet about the product, maybe they won't buy the product. Yes. Okay, Ms. Hessing, thank you for jumping on. Real quick, I'll recap. Today we were talking about the 5 steps to help us validate an idea, right? 5 steps to help us validate an idea or a product or service so that we can see whether or not it's a pass or fail before we spend a whole lot of time and a whole lot of money on the project, right? Number 1, real quick, is to do a search. Go back and do a search and see, do a search online, see if the product already exists. If it already exists, then good. How can you enhance it or improve it? If it doesn't already exist, then maybe you got something new, or maybe, you just are on to nothing. And somebody tried it, it doesn't work. A lot of people tried it, didn't work. It don't make any money. So, come up with another idea. Share your idea, get some feedback, create a beta version. So if, let's say you have a coaching program. I deal with a lot of coaches. So how can we test whether or not we have a quality or a good coaching program in place? Here's what I say, dude. I say, create a webinar. Create a webinar. And create a webinar registration page. Send some traffic to it. And see if people are signing up. Right? Say, hey, on this webinar, I'm going to teach you, blah, 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 blah. My Facebook strategy. Or let's say for me, I build sales funnels and such. So I'm going to teach you the process for creating a sales funnel that's funny. Creating a sales funnel from A to Z, right? Here's how you go into a market, create the pages, create the copy, and I'm going to give it to you on this webinar. Sign up if you want it, right? And those are ways to test out a coaching program. Or create an ebook. Hey, I'm going to teach you in this ebook how to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? And your coaching program will be able to elaborate on it. But if no one's downloading that ebook, or if no one's requesting it, then, you have your answer on whether or not it's validated as is. You may have to tweak it. The next thing you can do is, so if you have a new service, so sometime I'll come up, yes, I do products and stuff, but sometime I come up with a new service, right? And I say, you know what? I'm going to sell this service because I think this birthday marketing service is going to be awesome, right? So what do? I go out and I talk to some people. I talk to a couple business owners, and I may offer it to them for a low fee. I may offer it to them for free, just depending on how I feel that day, really, or how quickly I want to test it. So offer the service for free or at a low cost to get some data to see if this process works, right? And if it works very well, you can get a case study out of it, right? So what am I doing? I'm validating this service. I'm validating that this service can work in the real world, right? So number 3, you're creating that beta test. You have to get data. You have to get data. I like to say, the data don't lie. You know, they say hips don't lie. Wait. They say the data don't lie, right? So if you put the landing page out, or you put the webinar registration page out, or you put the service idea out, or whatever, and you don't get any takers, I think we've done a pretty good validation of your test. Let's say you have a physical product, right? Or a concept. One way to test it is a crowdsourcing campaign, right? All these are beta tests. All these are way to get feedback. So beta crowdsourcing campaigns, hey, I'm creating a hibbity flibbity widget, and I'm going to put it up on Indiegogo and see if we can meet our goal. If we can meet our goal, hey, what's going on, Yvette? Today we're talking about 5 steps to help us validate an idea, right? So another way to validate, the third step is the beta testing. You can put it on a crowdsourcing campaign like Indiegogo or Kickstarter, and then you can see whether or not people are willing to give to this campaign. That's a way to beta test your project. All right. So number 4, and just to recap for those that are just coming on, the first way to beta test it is search. You know, we can search it. If it exists, then we can enhance it. But if it doesn't exist, maybe there's a problem with it. Hey. Number 2 is share your feedback or share the idea. Talk to some people. Okay? Talk to some people. The fear that if I tell somebody about my idea, they're going to steal it, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the internet is big enough that if somebody steals your idea, then there's still enough people to buy your idea, right? I mean, a whole industry stole Henry Ford's idea of a car, right? So it doesn't matter. You still can get it out there. Do a beta test. If you have a coaching program or a product, I know Yvette, you're working on a product. One way to test that product idea is do a webinar or do a lead magnet to get some registrations. If you get some registrations, then you understand that this topic, or if you get some lead magnet or some subscriptions, people downloading the lead, it gives you some idea that, hey, here's a topic and this is the messaging that's getting a result, right? Number 4 is groups. So you got to find these groups, right? Now, so find groups around this topic. Finding groups around this topic. Why? Because you have to identify whether or not there is demand for it. Is there demand for it? You know, one of the projects I've been working on with a couple clients is we were looking for kingdompreneurs, etc., etc. Well, we found entire Facebook groups. We found entire communities around this prospect. Awesome. Hey, let me know if you want to get some feedback on it. Let me know, because I may be able to help with some of the webinar stuff. But that's a good idea. Definitely creating that webinar to get you some feedback. You'll be able to tell from your registrations, a good portion about how interested people are. But good job. I'm happy there's progress going on with that. So also finding groups around your topic. Why? Because you want to identify people that were awesome, that are potential buyers, right? So finding groups. So far, number 1, do a search. Make sure that you're not the first person to come up with this idea. It's that somebody else is there. You just enhancing, improving, making it better. Share your idea, get some feedback. Number 3, do a beta test. Number 4, find some groups, And actually I believe this week, I should be putting something out to get some feedback I have like a 1 or 2 question survey that I'm going to be putting out. I got to get some feedback. Question: is beta always necessary for a new course or program? So you I think you missed some of it when I was going through it at the beginning. Another way I use the beta concept is kind of the minimum viable product, right? So sometimes instead of a 11 module course and creating the whole thing out, do 4 modules or 6 modules just to make sure you have the audience before you spend, time doing all of that, right? But it's not always necessary, right? I hate to say something is always necessary, particularly if I remember in your space, we kind of we went from our search and from looking around, we see that there's already a market for that, right? But a beta test, not only does it helps validate your market or validate your idea, it validates your messaging. Okay, beta testing validates your messaging as well, right? So that's one reason I also recommend the beta test. The other reason I recommend beta testing is it helps you get some numbers, right? So I'm working on a product now called I think I'm gonna call it a paper funnel. I kind of like that, a paper funnel, and pretty much it's how to get your numbers, how to identify what numbers you need at the beginning. Right? So that when you roll it out, you'll kind of know what kind of budget need to be going with, etc. Does that help? Perfect. So, like I said, this week I'll be sending out a survey and putting it in different groups and different platforms because I want to find out what are people's biggest hang up in the designing of a sales funnel, right? I have my idea from working with clients, what are some of the hang-ups they're having, but I want to send out my survey to find out what are some of the hang-ups that people are having with their sales funnel so that I can address them in the upcoming product, So that's an idea of beta testing as well. Does that make sense? Okay. So, validating our idea from search by sharing for feedback, beta testing, finding groups, and number 5, to validate your idea, what you need to, you also have to create a plan. Okay? Create a plan. Now, there are 2 aspects of this plan. Definitely looking for a bigger sheet of paper. Well, it's recorded. And also, I post all these up for replay on funnelhelper.com/show. Right? All of these Facebook Lives that I've been doing, I've been putting them on that page because I want, because I think it's good stuff, and I want people to go check it out, and see this stuff. But number 5 is creating a plan. Now, you need to create a plan, even in your validation ideas. You want to create a plan with 2 prongs. One plan is for acquisition, right? Customer acquisition, and that's how we're going to get the customers. And number 2, we want to have a plan for monetization. Okay? Whenever we're creating a product, whenever it is. Whenever we're creating a product, it's very important to have a plan for how we're going to monetize it and how we're going to get people to find out about it. You'll be surprised at how many people in their idea phase or in their validating phase, they don't look to see how am I going to get customers, or how am I going to make some money off this idea, right? So that's part of that validation process. It's a very important part of validating it, and that's determining how we're going to get customers and how we're going to monetize it. And I like to ask this question in regards to customer. Hey, what's going on, Haley? I like to ask this question in regards to customer acquisition. So, question number 1, and I got to get a bigger piece of paper too. I'll just put it over here in this corner. The questions you want to ask as far as customer acquisition is, number one, how will I get my first customer? Right? How will I get my first customer? And then you want to ask yourself a second question, how would I get my 100th customer? Okay? Because sometimes it's different. Sometimes what I have to do to get my first customer and what I have to do to get my 100th customer is different. So I want you to think through the process of, because my first customer could be, I go and I reduce my price or whatever. I go out and I sell it to my cousin, whatever, because I have to get a case study. I have to get some data, right? So sometimes for me, my first customer is I roll it out to previous customers. I say, hey, as a previous customer, I'm going to roll this out to you and get some data and some feedback from this program. Now, my 100th customer, I'm still not doing that same process. For my 100th customer, I need to know that, hey, this would be in the vertical or in the product suite behind X. All right. So hopefully that will make sense. And then the monetization stuff, how are you going to make money on it? How are you going to make money on your product? Sometimes, and now this is interesting because I've found a couple other ways to monetize a product, right? And do I have time to go into this? What time is it? I'm going to go in it real quick. Well, I try to have short little ones. And I just keep going and going. All right, so here's a couple ways. No, you know what? Maybe next time. I'll give you two ways. Two ways to monetize something. First is the direct sale, right? So you can sell it. Direct sale, we understand it. We monetize it by, hey, I sell it, you buy it. Hey, we just monetized it. Another way to monetize something is I sell it and I lease it, I license it to another person and they can sell it too. Right? Another way to monetize monetize. So I'll just go with those two models. One way is to sell it yourself. The other way is to lease the technology or the process to someone else and they can sell it as well, right? So in your planning process, you want to see, how do I monetize the process? All right. Okay, this is Lee Fuller, a.k.a. The Funnel Helper. Haha, glad you like it, a.k.a. The Funnel Helper. And just to recap, we talked about the 5 ways to help you validate a product, service, or idea. Number 1, search. Do affiliates. Yes, affiliates is a way to monetize it, but it's a little different, right? Affiliates help you sell it. And you're really monetizing it by selling it, right? So if let's say I have a product, and I will have a product, that I'll use affiliates to help me sell it. Affiliates, they are an extension of my sales process, right? But it's still the direct sale process. What licensing is, so one guy I've been studying for years is John Jantsch, and he does duct tape marketing, right? So he created this framework for duct tape marketing. And what he did was he created a network of people that he licenses his idea to, and they can teach his duct tape marketing system. So he's monetizing it by licensing it or certifying. You probably seen it in the context of people certifying something. They certify these other people and allow them to teach it, right? That's one way of monetizing. That's a second way of monetizing an idea. Does that make sense? Okay. So, but yeah, in the validation process, make sure you created a plan for how you will monetize it and how you'll get customers. Not only the first customer, but the 100th customer. So just to recap, do a search. Make sure there's another product or similar that you can enhance or improve. Share for feedback. Talk to somebody. Don't be afraid somebody's going to steal your idea. The internet's big enough for two people to be selling the same product. Like, I mean, Dell sells computers and so does Toshiba. You know what I'm saying? So no one's going to steal your idea. Well, eventually people will anyway. Like once you start selling it and making a whole bunch of money, then other people will get into the marketplace. And I talked about that in the last series where, you know, you create, saturate, you split, etc. Beta test. We talked about landing pages, webinars, ebooks, crowdsourcing. All these things allow you to test your idea. Finding a group. These are the people kind of identifying how big the market is, right? So we got the idea, right? We validated it's a good idea. Now we want to see how big this market is. So we find a group. Make sure there's other people that will be interested in it. And then you create a plan for how to monetize it, your first customer, and also your 100th customer. And you go through those 5 steps, checks off, it checks the box. You've got a good idea, you're ready to rock. And when all those things are checked off, holla at your boy. Check out the Fullest Extent Media or funnelhelper.com, you know, and we can help blow stuff out of the water because that's what we do for small businesses and product creators. If you would like to see some of the previous episodes, if this is your first episode and you want to see some of the previous ones, I believe in the description, it says funnelhelpers.com/show. You go there and you'll be able to watch all the past episodes of funnelhelper.com. My name is Lee Fuller, aka the Funnel Helper, and I will talk to y'all soon. Unless there are any other questions. Any other questions, Yvette? I did a little better. I got on earlier today, so I didn't have to jump off and go get the girls. But if there are no questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. All right, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. My name's Lee Fuller, and I will see y'all Thursday. You know what? I'll probably release my survey, and Thursday maybe I'll have some results and kind of show you how I did that process. That might be helpful to some people. All right, my name is Lee Fuller, aka the Funnel Helper, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.